more and more over the last 5 years, as you know, we're seeing this shift where people are starting to wise up.
Similar problem, different figures.
At any point in time, the median house price might be going up or down.
Yep.
That's just an indicator of market activity. What people need to be looking at around affordability is what is the entry price doing.
Yeah.
And because you've always got demand at the affordable price point, the entry point will never be cheaper than what it is today.
Welcome to Brick to the Future. I'm Cam McClellan here with our good friend and business partner Michael Beresford. Mate, back again.
G'day Cam, looking forward to this, always enjoy it.
Yeah, it's it. 2026, we're off and running. So I want to talk a little bit about metrics in the market. I think the concept of the way people look at buying property has definitely shifted and is going to continue to shift. And it needs a new mindset on how to be successful when you're coming to investing. There's some old lessons that we can sort of, that's remain true, but when you look at, I'm going to throw some stats out here and I want you to try and debunk these a little bit. So, well, if we're looking at obviously national dwellings, over $1 million for median house price, the proportion of median incomes need to serve that. You're sort of reaching the 50% level.
Yep.
But saying that, supply, which is going to get worse, it can't keep up with the demand. The migration and the amount of people coming into the country, as well as the lack of anyone being able to deliver enough product to market to be able to service that, is getting further and further apart, regardless of the headlines the government like to put out. What do you say to some of the, because when you look at those, it's pretty doom and gloom when you look at some of those, those stats, and when you consider back to the 1990s and the boomers are carrying on about 18% interest rates, and I'm not a boomer, as you know, but I do look a little close to a boomer.
I wasn't going to say it.
But just for clarity, I'm Gen X. But if you look back, it was sort of 2 times the average income to buy a property. Back in the 80s, 90s. Now you're probably looking closer to 8 to somewhere between
10 plus.
Yeah, pushing up to 10. Definitely, if you're looking at $100,000, $1 million property, it's definitely harder. There's no doubt. So that's where the mindset needs to shift of the way people get into the property market, which is buying your own home. What do you say about those stats? Because people relate that median house price, $1 million, to average income.
It's a great thing to unpack. I'm glad you asked. I'll try and keep this simple for everyone with the headline stuff that you need to take away. Firstly, let's go back to the 70s and 80s when it was 3 times income or whatever it was.
Yep.
Wages and house prices are not the only 2 things that determine affordability.
Yep.
Okay. So in your example, you might have had a wage of 40 grand. You might have had a house price of 120 grand. But what if the interest rates were 15%?
That's right, exactly right.
So the reason why so many people get caught up, and I fully appreciate why they do, is because it's a very logical string to... But you know what I'm trying to say? A bow to draw or whatever.
Yep, there you go.
That you look at median house prices.
So good with our analogies, aren't we?
That's a good thing we know.
You're usually pretty good. You're usually pretty good, baby. That was a tongue twister there.
It's such a logical thing when these 2 are presented side by side. The median house price is this, the median wage is this, and there's a multiple. Okay. That's logical because they're using the same metric, so people kind of go, I get that.
They're supposed to marry up in people's head.
Yeah, absolutely. But to use a drastic example, right, property prices and wages are not like for like. If there's an $80 million penthouse that sells in Manhattan, I'm pretty sure that's not an American first home buyer.
No, that's correct.
Right, that's buying that. So not all property is accessible to all wage earners.
Yeah, correct.
So what we need to look at and understand is that there are always going to be affordable properties in certain locations that different people can afford, depending on where their wage sits. And when people understand that, then it opens up a whole range of possibilities for them.
Yep.
Is it their own home in an area that they want to live?
Yeah.
Is it their own home in an area where they are willing to sacrifice a bit of lifestyle or travel time or whatever it might be to live in their own home?
Yep.
More and more over the last 5 years, as you know, we're seeing this shift where people are starting to wise up, going, hang on a second, I can rent fairly affordably where I want to live.
Yeah.
And I can buy multiple affordable properties in my portfolio, the majority of which is paid for by the tenant and the government, and I can have the best of both worlds, and I'm growing my wealth, and I'm holding so much more in asset value than what I would be if I was just buying my own home. So
Yeah.
there's a real shift in the way that people are assessing this, and the evidence to that is that as we've seen the interest rates rise over the last 3 years, we still saw the affordable quartile of the market dramatically outpacing the middle quartile and the upper quartile.
Yeah, 100%.
So at any point in time, the median house price might be going up or down.
Yeah.
That's just an indicator of market activity. What people need to be looking at around affordability is what is the entry price doing.
Yeah.
And because you've always got demand at the affordable price point, the entry point will never be cheaper than what it is today.
Yeah, if I think back to late 90s when I purchased my first property, it's similar problem, different figures. And so I was earning, I think, $40,000 a year back then, working at Telstra, and all my mates were living in Hawthorn or Paran, and, I wanted to live in there, but I was desperate to buy a house. Instead, I had to move out to Bayswater, and let me tell you, it's bullshit. I got out there, fucking absolute bullshit, that suburb. There's no bay, there's no water. So I got out there, bought a property and felt robbed. No, the reason I moved to Baysy was I could afford a property there. So, but I then realised once I bought that property and moved out there, I went, prefer to live in Elwood, St Kilda sort of thing. So I rented that out, like you said.
Yep.
That became, I bought something that was within the grasp of what I could afford. I couldn't buy in Paran or Hawthorn in those times, but I got something, again, like you said, there is always something you can get into depending on what your income is and what equity you've built up. So it's the same now. Figures are different, drastically different, but the same reality. People need to look outside of the area they're in and potentially buy something that's away from where they want to live. And I realised as soon as I'd moved into it, got the first home buyers grant, and away I went, but then went, let's shoot down to the beach and live, and as a 20-year-old, go and play up. But that enabled me to get into the market. I think that's the key. If people want to get, the end result is their dream home and enough money for retirement and to spend time with the kids and those sort of things, then getting into the market fast and looking at other options as opposed to just looking at where most people want to live. It's usually the price point is above their income capacity to buy, because you like living in a nicer suburb than what you can really afford.
And if it's not, if it is within their realm, they'll generally stretch to get it.
Yeah.
And then they're maxed out on their mortgage.
Correct.
And they're sacrificing lifestyle because their mortgage repayment is such a high percentage of what they're earning.
Exactly right.
It doesn't actually, they don't love it as much as what they thought they would because of that financial constraint. To illustrate the point, you shared a personal example, I'll do the same. Everyone probably will have heard about the first property that I ever bought, the ex-principal place of residence with the now very ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
We sold that.
It's creepy that her name was Beck and then your wife's now Beck.
No, it wasn't. What are you doing to the long list of girlfriends again? Ex-girlfriends. So, I sold that property early 2000s for a bit under 300,000, and that was with two of us earning pretty much the same amount. I was able to then go from there, accumulate a deposit, and be able to get a 90% land on a property interstate in a market that hadn't moved at that point in time, and be able to service that by myself. Now, that property was bought in 2003 for $267,000. Just bumped over $1 million. Right?
Oh, terrible.
And it puts 15 to 16,000 of positive cash flow in my pocket each year. But the point was, I didn't have to look where I wanted to live or even the city that I was living in to be able to find affordable options. And I think taking the blinkers off and widening the lens in terms of where you're willing to consider is a really key consideration as well.
Yeah, I think that's the key with what we've been doing with clients over the last 20 plus years now. Jesus. But through those glory days that I was buying in, Melbourne, I could do no wrong. You could buy anything and it was going to go up in price in those late 90s, early 2000s. And then the music stopped and I went, I need to get growth again. I was like, this property cycle, this growth cycle needs to happen. So we started analysing different capital cities, which now, as you know, we've got an analytics team doing 19,000 hours of research, checking each of the capital cities, seeing which is best positioned to buy before the market moves. So I went and bought in Brisbane and got the growth there and then pulled it back and moved it into different capital cities before each growth cycle, as opposed to listening to the hot spots, which are usually the media talks about it as a hot spot because the market's cranked up, and the way I look at it is if you're buying those hot spots, you're about to get burnt because the growth's already happened.
They're already hot.
Yeah, that's right. So like you did, buying in a capital city, and that's where I think understanding the market drivers at a real macro level enables people to knock out capital cities are not good for that point in time, which is usually the capital cities the media are not talking about.
Yeah, don't follow the hype.
Yeah.
Don't get emotional about it. Use logic.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence on a proven set of criteria.
Yeah.
A proven process
Yeah.
is generally a much better recipe for success.
All right, so if people are looking to potentially look at something that fits within their borrowing capacity, get their borrowing capacity assessed, then look to what they can afford and why it would make a good decision to buy in a specific area, contact your team, opencorp.com.au.
Yeah, it's all personalised scenarios. So you tell us what you're wanting to achieve, we'll help you understand your situation and help you understand the options from there. No cost, no obligation.
Beautiful. Thanks for the input today, mate. Just quickly, some of the 2026 drivers and what's the market's going to do over the short term. I don't like giving short-term predictions, but we really need to be in tune with what's going on in the capital city markets, Boz. The 4 big drivers, run us through those and give us a pinpoint on where it is currently in Australia.
Okay, so whenever we're looking at market growth in any year, let alone this year, what we focus on is supply, demand, affordability and sentiment. So a one line on each. Supply, we're undersupplied. Everyone knows we're in a housing crisis. We can't create enough supply. We haven't got the construction workforce to bring that supply to market.
Yep.
Approvals are well below the average numbers that we need to be able to hit these government targets.
And they're saying there's going to be a huge trade shortage coming up in 3 to 5 years.
Supply is not going to fix itself anytime soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Demand, we've got record population growth.
Yep.
Most of that going to the major capital cities. Right now, that's pretty well known. And demand has been increasing as a result of sentiment going up, affordability improving with interest rate reductions,
yep.
And also government policy.
Yeah.
So, there was almost like a switch was flicked
yep.
when the government brought forward the 5% home guarantee.
Yep.
It instantly brought demand into the market. We saw a 39.2% increase in first home buyer loan applications from September to October.
Yeah.
So this stuff is instant. It happens very, very quickly. And that's why, based on the affordability and based on that demand, we're seeing prices rise between $7,000 and $8,000 a month right now. If we think about forward looking through the rest of this year, those trends will continue because they're not easy problems to solve. And when we look at prices going up and the way that the mass media catch onto that, and then we add the interest rate reductions that are forecast to happen this year on top of that, sentiment is only going to continue to improve more, which will be a snowball effect, and the property market will take off as a result. So we're kind of seeing that here, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've been seeing our clients invest in capital cities prior to the media getting onto it. So we look at the first three, supply, demand and affordability. But you've seen now, we've been telling clients to get into Melbourne for how long? A bit over 12 months now? 12
to 18 months, yep.
Yeah. So our clients have got in now. Look at the Today Show every morning. So we talk about the media getting consumer sentiment back every day. Melbourne prices set to store. Melbourne prices set to store. This is just once the media get on, that gets the confidence back. More buyers come in, and it's a
FOMO central,
self-fulfilling prophecy. So
that's the outlook for 2026. It's going to be a good year for property. If you want to investigate your personal situation, get in touch.